Hello, my friends. It's Marie Wallace here, and I invite people like these great people here to play and dance and embrace more in their relationships. And today I have Sammi Tucker and Rafael Lopez, who are an awesome couple who are going to share with us some tips about what's red hot, what's red not, and how to maybe navigate the in-between. So thank you guys for showing up for us more than once. But today
it's always so much fun every time we do this. So it's great.
It's great. Thank you, Marie.
I like your little setup there. That looks really nice. So last time we worked on this, we were talking about how sometimes people are having conversations where it's really either way hot and heated and no kind of communications going on, or it's red not, very flat, and well, no communications going on there either. But so I thought we could explore that today. So where do you want to start?
Sounds good. I'll defer to Rafael.
So Rafael, what do you do when you're Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to ask you because, yeah, there's two ways of looking at red hot. Like at red hot, it's on, or red hot, it's like communication, like blowing up red hot.
Yeah.
And then red not, so I kind of see it more, and the red not is more about when it's just flat and just kind of stale or no communication. Just disconnect, basically.
Disconnect.
Yeah. So sometimes, so when it's red hot, I like to go into the other side where it's super pleasurable and super fun. And, how do you keep it red hot? How do you keep it just going? Like, to me, I see it like a fire, because a fire itself has its own life, and you have to tend to it or else it'll die.
Right. I like
so
that.
So it's really about keeping that fire just kind of fueled, and how you do that by adding things to your life, adding I don't know. I'm thinking about connection pieces, or doing things together, or finding out how each person likes to be loved.
Yeah.
There's a thing of finding out, because sometimes people like to receive gifts. Some people like, to have things done for them. Maybe even saying it.
Yeah.
You can be showing somebody all you want by touching them, holding hands. But if they never hear you say, "I love you," or something like that, they will never think that you're actually loving them.
Yeah.
So then that's when it starts to go to red not.
Right. And I would really encourage everybody to get online and do the test to discover what your love languages are.
Yes.
And I did mine, and poor Rafael, I've got 3 tied for number 1. So I'm a little high maintenance, right?
Not at all. No.
Or variety. You could call it variety.
Variety, exactly. It's a lot of sense of variety.
Yeah.
But this happens a lot in relationships where you show love the way you like to receive love, and most people aren't even conscious of how they like to receive love, how it is that they become to feel appreciated and valued and loved. For Rafael, touch is number 1. No surprise there,
No surprise.
So words of affirmation, quality time, and touch is, those are my top number 3, tied for first. So it's not that he has to do all at once, but he's actually pretty lucky because he gets to kind of rotate through all of those. And it's nice, especially if your partner's, your husband's, your lover's love language isn't yours and is kind of outside the box.
Yeah.
Like, if gift giving was his love language, I would really have to stretch on that.
And consciously write it on a calendar or something.
Right. And really pay attention to what are the things that he's interested in, and find out what, because it's not that, some people like to get cards, but it's not just any card. Maybe it's just cards with poems on it. So there's so many different layers. It's not like, here, I gave you a gift and that I love you. It's got to be really, really specific and special to that person. Makes it personalized. Yeah.
Well, I just saw a show yesterday that made me funny. That was really funny. That he had bought all these gifts for her. She really likes gifts, and he bought all of them in advance, and he had them in the closet, and he had them labeled by, this is for a rainy day, and this is for when you're having a really great day, just a celebration. This is when you're sad. And she found them, and she was really, really upset because she didn't think that they were thought of, there was any forethought in it. He goes, I got every one of those exactly for you and specifically for you. I just wanted to be ready and prepared. But I thought it was just the perfect way of saying exactly what you're saying, is sometimes, yeah, we have to kind of get in there and let him know. And she could be upset, but if he knows she likes gifts and he's making the effort, that's a pretty good thing too as well. So yeah.
Right. And in a situation like that, I would invite her to look at, why was she upset? And I know we're not probably talking about a real couple, but in a situation like that, why was she upset? And to maybe, do a perceptual position and kind of float down into his body and experience what it was like to pick out each one of those gifts specifically or for a specific time, whether she was according to her mood. Yeah. And according to the weather. I mean, the amount of study that he had to do of her is.
And he was excited about it. He thought he did a good job.
Right. And that's a classic example of having unexpressed expectations and really not taking the time to step outside of yourself and look at the other person's viewpoint. And there was something that happened with Rafael and I recently that kind of speaks to this. And, quality time is really, really important to both of us. It's, tied for number one for my love language.
And also mine.
Oh, and yours too. Yeah. So it's really, really important to us. And life is busy, and, we're expanding our businesses, and there's so many irons in the fire that we have a habit of, if the day's busy and we can't do our walk together and we can't have our coffee together, that we at least lay and spend, at least 5 minutes cuddling and talking and just being present with each other before the day explodes. And one morning a couple of weeks ago, I wake up and I'm on, and I was just out of the bed and in the shower before I even knew it. And so I'm in the kitchen and I'm making coffee, and he kind of comes in and I was like, well, what's going on? Are you okay? And he's like, and this is, I hope people listen to this. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you what he said, and then I'm going to unpack why it was so beautiful. And he looks at me and he goes, you know how awesome it is in the mornings when we lay and cuddle and connect when we know our day's going to be busy? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you didn't get to do that today. And I was like, we didn't? He's like, yeah, you like got up and you were in the shower. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
And what he did was, first thing he did, instead of saying he was upset or you did something wrong, was he put me in the state of remembering what it's like to just really connect in the morning and how much I truly do enjoy it as well. Yeah. And then I was like, of course. And he's like, but we didn't get to do it. So he got me in a great mood by remembering the thing that we like. And then instead of pointing fingers, he just pointed out that we didn't get to do it. And then I was like,
and
really?
It's so touching. You're just, all you want to do is lean in.
Yeah, and I felt so bad. I was like, oh, let's go lay down for 5 minutes. It was sweet. But if anybody's listening to this and wondering how you can diffuse situations like that, it's get your partner, your loved one in a better frame, a better emotional state. And then instead of pointing fingers, if something has been done that's been disappointing, why is it disappointing? Well, because it's something that you both enjoy. Get them in the memory of, oh yeah, we both enjoy it. And hey, this happened. Instead of you did something wrong. Because most people would have been, I've been in relationships, well, why'd you just jump out of bed? What, were you mad at me? And just let the stories go out of
then your dukes are up and you're ready to fight. And yeah.
Yeah, but I'm busy. I would have easy to, if he threw that emotion at me, to just let it bounce right back and throw it right back at him, magnify, which is how easy stupid little fights start. And you're like, why am I even mad? And now we're talking about the garbage, and we're, mad at the dog. Like, everything goes out of control.
Right.
Yeah.
The other part is, how the old adage used to be, I think it came from counselors, where they would say, I feel this way. Because I think I feel statements almost put you in that guarded position as well. And maybe because it was overused at some point, but when someone starts a sentence with, I feel this when you this, it automatically puts me in a defensive mode. Whereas what Rafael did very eloquently is just took you to that memory and that time that you both cherish. And so he bridged both of your situations to something that you both enjoy, and that's the quality time. And it's very brilliant. Just saying.
Yeah, that was brilliant. And going one step back, it was something that we agreed on. I mean, we spent time talking about how do we stay connected when things are getting so crazy. So we actually laid out a plan. It was very intentional, is very intentional, that's how we start our busy days.
Yes. I think that's amazing.
It's agreed upon, something that we want to both do. It doesn't matter, even if it's 30 seconds. It's that set intention of actually connecting in that moment.
Joe and I call those like rules of engagement. It's how we engage with each other, but it's also how, if something comes up, we call it fair fighting rules too, but it's all about, and I think that's a nice way to get that out there before something happens, so that it doesn't, because when you're in the heat of the moment, that is not the time to bring it up, because there's no listening going on at that point, right? Or do you guys have fair fighting rules?
I don't know that we've actually sat down and wrote out fair fighting rules, but we've talked about how to communicate really effectively with each other.
And a lot of it is actually realizing that we have triggers. Everyone has triggers. And to know that if something comes up, to look at like, okay, wait a minute, that's something that's on their side, what's going on, and not take it personal.
Exactly.
And then when you don't take it personal, you can actually discuss it and not be heated, because it's like, wait a minute, whoa. So what happened there? This so-and-so happened, and I can actually come to Sammi and be like, hey, this happened. What was going on? And, it set something up in me, like I felt something. Or how do we usually do it? Like something like that, right? Where we just kind of...
Yeah, so fortunately we've trained ourselves before we became a couple. We've both spent years and years developing the skill to be emotionally aware and know how to control our own emotions and kind of unpack where they're coming from. So when he does something and I feel myself triggered, sometimes I'll snap. I've been known to do that.
That's human.
Human, it's very human,
yeah. And then I've also caught myself going to snap and going, wait a second. Okay, what is this about? Because I'm being triggered, which if you look at that sentence, I am being triggered, that can only happen inside. The trigger happens inside. Nothing that anybody does outside of me can trigger me unless I allow it. I have to build up that pattern, that framework for that internally. So a great thing to do is be aware of that and go, why is that triggering me? And really just spend some time looking at that. And it could be that, some people are like, well, it triggers me because all guys are like that.
Right.
Okay, well, that's a broad generalization and is not always true. Mm-hmm. So let's look at what you can control. Yeah. And it goes back to, what we were talking about, the flame, keeping the flame going. And when you build a campfire, you can start the fire by lighting the flame on the outside of the log, and it will slowly burn and burn the log. But the way to make the flame last the longest is to hollow out the inside of the log and start the flame on the inside.
Ooh, I didn't know that. I got a campfire lesson too. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It produces much more heat, it lasts longer, and it's internally controlled, which is that's the only thing that we can be responsible for in a relationship. I have to manage my internal flame, which is my emotions, and he has to manage his. We can't be constantly trying to put out each other's fires or blaming each other for each other's fires. Yeah. That's got to be internal.
That's an awesome metaphor.
Yeah, and that's usually what it is. It's the trigger is whatever pisses us off or upsets us or hurts us, or these are other words that usually you would hear. It's like, oh, that hurt me, or that made me feel this. that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the trigger.
Right.
Well,
Right.
and the other thing that you said that I really love is when you talked about being trained to be emotionally aware. The other part of that is a lot of times we humans make up stories, and we get to the story long before we ever really check in with ourselves. We're already making up something because we're trying to put these patterns and pieces together, and we've already got a story, and then you have to stop and go, wait a minute, that's not even true. I just made that up.
Exactly.
Storyteller.
Think about it. If Rafael said something to me, you know, like, I don't know, will you please, you know, not put the dishes away wet? And what if that was something that triggered me based on a past experience or a relationship? And then just based on that sentence, that request, the stories that we make up, it would be like me going, oh, I've got the clip notes of exactly what you mean by that. And then just start firing off my pre-rehearsed responses based on past experiences, you know, instead of really just being present in the moment and going, all right, so let's look at what was just requested and is it really a big deal, and talk about it. But so
I love
bring
that.
the in and have these, you know, these rapid fire cliff notes where there is no room for dialogue or change or you know, even communication
or any kind of understanding of any kind, because you've already got your mind made up.
Exactly.
I've been there, done that too, which is, but we learn, we live and we learn. Do you have any last minute little tidbits on keeping it red hot?
You go first.
Yeah.
Keeping it red hot, like keeping it juicy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The good stuff.
The good stuff. You know, there's actually quite a bit of stuff that you can look up online, from date ideas to your book, Marie. Your book has a ton of information and different ideas to keep it red hot, right? There's a lot of practices out there. There's you know, doing things together, finding out what it is, like the love languages. We talked a little bit about that, right? Finding out what it is that it turns them on or gives them love, and do those things for them.
Yeah.
You know, like you can even throw in a little gathering if they like those intimate, you know, quality time with people. You know, if they like touch, do a little coupon book of massage, that kind of stuff. So
I know a massage guy.
yeah, right.
Well, well, and I like that too. And the other part that people forget is that it doesn't have to be a lot of time. I mean, and you've said this before, Rafael, is just that it's quality time versus quantity time. Because I can have 3 hours of Joe's time, and it could be watching sports, drinking a beer, and all the things that he loves, and I'll feel like neglected. Not to say that's ever happened before, but anyway, yeah. Versus just 5 or 10 minutes of just like you and I have both done, is that eye gazing thing, as far as that goes, or whatever it is. It's just taking that time to really connect, and like Sammi said, in their preferred way. And yeah, so that's awesome. Do you have another tip, Miss Sammi?
Yeah. So when you're first dating, you're so curious, and I would encourage people to set the intention of being curious about your lover, your spouse, your mate, and schedule it if you have to. I mean, let's be realistic. Life is crazy busy, and you can't just walk around just being all gaga goo goo curious all the time. So in your own heart, your own mind, your own schedule, set aside some time, that in a week and a day if you can, to just ask some curious questions.
Yeah. Because
the person that you were yesterday, you're not the same person today. We change constantly based on the experiences that we encounter throughout the day. And just express that curiosity, because people love to talk about themselves. People love to feel valued. People love to hear their name. So little things like that, just spark that curiosity again. And you'll be amazed at how that will lead to other sparks.
Oh, We're going to keep that fire alive. Well, these amazing people will be here at the Love and Romance Conference just in a few days, Friday evening and Saturday all day, and I'll leave a link for it. Sammy's going to continue the conversation of Red Hot, Red Not, and then it's flags. Do you remember all the flags? And she has some really cool.
Oh, you know what? I wish I had it written down. I'll have to look and see what that.
That's okay. You can find it on the website, and then Rafael's going to do the connect the dots to connection. So he has some amazing tips on how to stay connected, and I know a lot of people are really curious about being more intimate. So we're looking forward to having both of you come down and visit us. I'm looking forward to just squeezes and hugs, and I really miss hanging out with you guys already. So yeah.
What's the name of your book? And where can they get that?
The Romance Cookbook.
There you go. Exactly.
Right. Thank you. And then I'll leave a link to the conference because we only have, I think, 15 tickets left to make it the right size that we'd like it, and that would be awesome. And looking forward to seeing you guys real soon, very soon.